Thank you for joining us for this live overview demo of Osprey. I'm Danielle, Marketing Executive here at Osprey, and I'm joined by Dave, our Product Specialist, who will be taking you through the demo today. This session is designed to show you a top-level overview of the features, functionality, and integrations across the software. Today, we're joined by fellow Osprey clients at different stages of their journey. So whether you're a long-time user, new to your firm, or currently onboarding, our aim is to showcase what's possible with Osprey and highlight features and integrations that can help you improve efficiencies, increase visibility of data, streamline operations, and mitigate risk. Over the next hour, we'll take a look at inquiry management and onboarding, client and matter management, workflows, document and email management, time recording and billing, and then finally reporting and dashboards. As we move through the demo, we'll also show you the latest functionality updates. And if you have any questions throughout the session, please pop them in the Q&A box or in the chat, and then I'll fill these through to Dave at the end of the session. But before we jump in, a quick reminder that all Osprey clients have access to free unlimited training. So if you see anything today that you'd like to learn more about or implement in your firm, simply contact support or your CSM to arrange training for you and your team. So with the intro complete, I'll now hand over to Dave, who will take us through the demo.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. And if I could just check with you if you can see Osprey okay?
Yeah, all good.
Great stuff. Okay, we've got a lot to get through this morning, so let's jump in. So upon accessing Osprey, you're obviously presented with your home screen. The coming up section here is designed to provide you with all of your tasks so that these become front and center. Now, this coming up section incorporates two elements, matters for review, so a gentle reminder to go and review the status of a matter, and those can be based upon a specific date that you enter into the system, so remind me on the 30th of June. But they can also be based upon inactivity. So remind me to go and review this matter if it goes 10 or more days without any perceived activity against it. We also incorporate your key dates. So for us, these include things like tasks, reminders, and deadlines. And you can click on these and you can see all the details in the slide over panel on the right-hand side. You can edit them, mark them as completed, reassign them, move them out of date, all without leaving that home page. So all of your tasks, reminders, deadlines, all color-coded, all in chronological order as and when you need to review them. Over on the right-hand side, we've got access to our recent matters. We want to make it really quick and easy for you to jump into your matters that you're working on. And just a reminder that wherever you see the little grey pill that contains the client and matter number, that will give you access to all of the matter details, and you can go directly to the client and the matter workspaces. Obviously, we'll take a look at those in a little more detail later. Up at the top right, we've got our global search bar. We've got our last 20 matters that we've accessed. But a really useful feature is this See All Matters table. Now, clicking on this, the very first time that you do this, it will present you with a list of all of the matters across the application. However, it's designed for each user to actually tailor it. And the way that you do that is in the filter column at the very top here. If you select yourself as the fee earner, then you're only going to see your matters. You can extend that and change the status so that you're only seeing open and live matters within Osprey as well. So this is great to get a summary of all of your matters. You can change all the columns, you can ping columns, you can see all the WIP, office and client balances, and next steps and key dates. Jumping back to our home screen, time recording is very simple. Up at the top towards the top right, you've got a little clock icon. If you click on this, then once again it will bring over a slide over panel. This gives you access and the ability to create single or multiple timers. You can pause these timers, restart them, and then simply post that time. You can also post time on an ad hoc basis. So by default, it brings up the client and matter that you're currently in, but you can also search for any other client and matter within the system. And this means from this one slide over panel, you could theoretically do all of your time recording and once again, never leave the page that you're actually on. Pop in your activities, enter the number of units. Also, a great little feature here is this add new activity. So this gives you the ability to add multiple activities such as waiting, traveling, attending court, waiting, traveling, all within a single time entry. And then at the bottom, you've got your attendance note for additional detail and context about that time posting. Also, a really useful feature here is the time ledger posting. So each fee earner can see a chronological list of all of their time entries. And then what we do is we subtotal that by day. So if any of you have targets, you can just see your units, time and value totals and see how you're doing against those targets. Also great just to pop in here and double check, did I record that 20-minute phone call from earlier? Finally, at the top right, you've got the new action button, giving you quick and easy access to features you're going to use on a regular basis. Electronic chitties and requisitions, we'll come on to those a bit later. There's your key dates, your tasks and reminders. Your 3 communication methods, so SMS, email and document production, and we'll come on to those a little later as well. At the top of the screen, you've got your wizards that step you through adding a new client, a new matter, and then typically where you're going to have your first interaction with Osprey and perhaps a new or prospective client is via the conflict of interest search. Now, I'm just going to run through this very quickly, but at this point, if you imagine Lucy Simpson's come to your practice, she's interested in your legal services, maybe it's a divorce case, then our conflict of interest search allows us to search for the other side details. So I'm just going to put John Simpson in. You can even put postcodes if you ever needed to do that, maybe for conveyancing. And then we can click on continue. We have the ability to search across any other data that is within Osprey. So that could be company registration numbers, birthdays, national insurance numbers, passport numbers, etc. Continue shows us all of our potential conflicts. And then to see what the conflicts are, you can simply click on one of these line items. And then up at the top, you'll see that it tells you what conflict has been identified. From here, you can see all of the client and the matter details by simply clicking on these tabs across the top. So it defaults to the matter details. I can also see all of the client contact information and also all of their related matters as well. You may notice that we color code on the right-hand side each matter depending upon how much of a conflict there is. You could also hover over the icon and in the black banner, it will also show you what conflicts have been identified. You have the ability to add multiple parties as needed. And then finally, we want you to acknowledge that you've reviewed them. You can pop a note in, so I could say no conflict identified. Continue. And then 2 options. You have the ability to create a new client or you can append a matter to an existing client. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with adding a new client or and a matter. I do, however, just want to show you that when you're adding a matter, I'll just put a matter description in. Osprey does have the ability to manage your prospects as well by ticking this checkbox. Now, Osprey records any conversions from a prospect into a live matter so that you can report on your conversion rates. So just wanted to mention that. Obviously, you've got your work types and your branch and departments. Now, the next page that you may or may not see when you're creating a client or a matter is really important. It's called matter extensions, and it gives you the ability to capture any data that you want at the point of client and matter creation. Now, depending upon what legal service you're offering, the required data that you enter can change. So for conveyancing, you may need certain information. For family matters, it may be completely different. On screen now are just some examples of the type of data you can capture. So things like source of introduction, how people heard about your services, if you're interested in reporting on that. Estimates of legal costs is a great one. So if you're providing fixed fee services, then you can pop in there the expected amount. You could even capture the date or month that you're expecting that to come in, and that allows you to do things like forecasting. Referrals details, their name, any fees, and once again, you can report on that. So just some examples there of the type of data that you can capture. Also, just worth noting, some of these fields have an asterisk by them. That simply means that that field is compulsory. So if there's anything you want to ensure fee earners enter at the point of creating the client and matters, you can make those mandatory so they can't proceed without entering them. Okay, let's go and jump into a client and matter. Once you've actually created the client and matter, it will take you directly into what we call the matter workspace. And this is obviously your hub. You can get to all of the information pages using the navigation bar across the top. Some recently added functionality included outstanding undertakings. So you can have a matter within Osprey, you can associate it with undertakings, and then they can have a status. And as you can see here, our primary matter identifies if there's any outstanding undertakings associated with it. It will also prevent the matter from being archived if anything is outstanding. Up at the very top right, you've got a little note icon, and in my example, it's got the number 3. You can see here that you've got the ability to add notes to your matters. Also worth mentioning, that is available at the client level as well. So you can have both client and matter level notes. In terms of our matter workspace at the top, we've got our workflow status bar. You can update this manually based upon where you are within the process. But if you utilize our workflows, which we're coming on to in a moment, then you can have this update automatically, and it will show you where you are within a conveyancing case or a divorce case, as an example. Below that, you'll get a graphical representation of where you are within the workflow. And as you complete actions, these will change color, and the percentage of the way through the workflow you are will also be shown. At the bottom, you've got your coming up section, so your tasks, reminders, and deadlines that are specific to this matter. You've got your account controls, so the ability to define debtor, disbursement, and WIP limits. Okay, once client and matters in the system, the next logical place for you to perhaps go is Osprey's workflows. Now, we've actually created over 50 workflow templates that are available to our clients at no additional cost. Now, I'll show you that list in just a moment, but I want to take you through an example of how workflows can be utilized and the huge efficiencies and time savings that they can offer. So just as an example, if we had Lucy Simpson come to us and ask us about our legal costs for perhaps a divorce, then what I've actually done is I've just created myself a little 5-step workflow that allows us to generate an estimate or quote for Lucy. All I do is click on the play button, and Osprey is going to step me through everything I need to do. Now, in this example, step 1 is it brings up a questionnaire. So things like, how did they hear about our services? Is it fixed fee? If so, enter the cost, estimates of disbursements. If it's time and materials, what's your hourly rate? And do you need any money on account? Again, that ability to capture any referral details. You could even record win and loss reasons and report on those as well. Now, when I click on the next button, rather than me having to manually hunt down letters, documents, and forms, Osprey is going to locate a cover letter and estimate document. It's going to open that, and then it's going to mail merge all of the details for me, so that I can then perhaps send that off to Lucy. And so there is just an example, cover letter on the left and the quotation or estimate on the right. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to close the Word document. I have the opportunity to pop in description, pop my folder in. We can also time record. So we're all about encouraging people to time record at the point they're conducting the activity. I can now save that document within my matter history. Click on the next action button, and that takes me into step 3. Now, the next logical step may be to send a copy of that estimate to Lucy. So Osprey brings up an email template. And much like a document, it's mail merged all the details into the subject and or into the body of the email if needed. We can select Lucy to send it to. And then we can simply click on the attach button, select the estimate we created in the step below, the previous step, and we can convert it to PDF. We can send that. That quote goes off to Lucy, and then a copy of that email and estimate is also stored in our matter history. When I click on the next action, you won't see it do it. It will look as though it skips over action 4 down the left. But what it's done behind the scenes is it's created a key date automatically. So in 5 days' time, I'm going to get a reminder on my home screen to follow up with Lucy to see if she wants to go ahead with that estimate. The workflow status bar will then be updated, and then I can complete that part of the process. You'll see that now turns green. The status bar has changed to estimate sent. Now, assuming that Lucy wants to proceed with our services, we can then move into things like our ID and AML checks. So you can have reminders form part of your workflows to conduct those. Just a reminder to you that we also have a rich and deep integration with InfoTrack that facilitates those ID and AML checks, as well as property searches and all of your post-completion work as well, your AP1s and SDLT information. The benefit of utilizing that is you conduct researches directly from Osprey. It passes all of the information into InfoTrack, so no duplicate data entry. The results come back into Osprey automatically. And we even go a step further in that the costs of those are automatically added to your ledgers. So you'll never forget to add a disbursement. You'll never type the incorrect amount. That process is completely automated for you. Okay, progressing further in the workflow, we have a client and matter risk assessment workflow as well that you can incorporate into file opening. I'm not going to run all of the steps. I'll just run a couple to give you a flavor of how this works. But essentially, most people will enter this information into a blank Word document. Now, we approach that differently. Yes, you can still do that, of course, but what is more beneficial is if you enter this information in. It speeds up data entry because people can select from drop downs. It prompts them to enter all of the info to make sure they're not missing anything. Also, it means that all of these fields are reportable on. So you simply go through the process, answer all the questions. And then the final step is really important because what that will then do is take all of those responses and it will mail merge those into our client and matter risk assessment form that we've got available if the auditors come knocking at the door. Just take a moment whilst it mail merges all of those. So there you go, just an example. I'm guessing most of you have got something similar to this. Okay, so that's our client and matter risk assessment. We support initial, interim, and final risk assessment, just so you're aware. So just an example there of how the workflows operate within Osprey, and they bring all the different tasks and actions together to provide you with efficiencies and continuity across all of your fee earners. As I mentioned, I'll show you a list of all of the workflows that are available. So you can see here, we've got clinical negligence, we've got our conveyancing, both residential and property. Just mentioning InfoTrack again, we've got dedicated ones there that pass all of that information. So things like your SDLT and AP1 information, you know, the vast majority of that is pre-populated for you. Osprey has compliance, SRA style workflows as well available. So things like you've got your undertakings, your AML risk assessment, complaint handling, and also things like file reviews. Crime, debt recovery, employment, whole bunch in there for family. All of these act in similar fashion to that I've just shown you. So for example, if I just click on file review, then what you'll see over on the right hand side is you've got the different tasks, which are the logical steps of the file review process. And then on the left, if you were to go and run this within Osprey, it would take you through all of the individual actions within each of those steps. Okay, let's jump back into Osprey. All of your letters and documents obviously go into your matter history. So let's jump into there now. Obviously, that's your central repository. A few things that often people forget about. Some people don't see this side panel, and it's typically because they may have it closed. So if you just click on that little arrow there, it will expand it. Now, from here at the top left, you can access things like smart actions and folders. So a great example of that is favorite items. Imagine you're working on a contract document over the course of a few days. You can simply pop a little star by it, multiple documents. When you come back into this file tomorrow, you can click on favorites and there it is. You're back up and running into that document very quickly. You've also got things like packages. We see a lot of people utilizing third-party applications such as Dropbox, OneDrive, WeTransfer to send files that are too big to send via Osprey. You can simply come in here into packages, click on new. You can then select from a whole bunch of your client and matter files. And then Osprey will save it, zip it all together, and it will create a single URL that you can copy and paste into an email. The recipient can click on it and then downloads that information that you've actually shared with them. So that is your packages. Down at the bottom, you've got your matter history folders. You can have global level folder structures that apply whenever you create a client and a matter, but you also have the ability to configure these at the work type level. So you can have, excuse me, different folder structures for conveyancing as opposed to family, as opposed to corporate, all completely tailorable by yourselves. You can have folders and subfolders. When clicking on any correspondence within obviously your math history, you can preview it over on the right-hand side, as well as your as well as your documents. Whenever you make a change to a document, you've got the little revision history tab at the top here, and that records all of the changes that you've made. It just means that you've got a full audit trail, and if you ever need to revert back to a previous version, you've got the ability to do that. Also, a reminder that obviously your math history can become lengthy and complex. Just a reminder that in the top here, you've got these filters. So, for example, if I was looking for a PDF, then I can type the word PDF in there, but it will filter all of the content out. Another reminder that if you click in between the columns on the little down arrow and then click on columns, you've got the ability to change all of the information that is displayed within the matter history. So you can simply put ticks in the boxes of the data that you want to see. You could also drag the columns around and reorder them as needed. And that's for each individual. And then finally, you've also got the keyword search up at the top there. So that is our matter history. Just jumping on to over towards the right-hand side or in the center here, we've got our custom data pages. So these were formerly called our dossier pages, and they've undergone a complete refresh. So they're now organized in a much better fashion. For those that aren't using custom data pages, they allow you the ability to capture any information you want. So for example, other side details, additional client information, all of your AML checks and information goes into those data fields. So you can see all of those. You can now edit them in line as well, so you don't need to edit the entire page. And a really useful facility now is that ability to search across all of your custom data pages as well. So that's custom data pages. Let's move on to contacts and organizations. So within Osprey, we have the ability to manage third-party contacts and organizations. Those are accessed down the left-hand side here. You can see under case management, and then we've got our contacts and organizations database. Now, the benefit here is that if you add a contact and organization, for example, an estate agent or other side solicitor, the workflow can prompt you to add them to your file. And if you've already got them within the system, you don't need to keep rekeying their data in because it's already within Osprey. Clicking on the contact manager, you can see a list of all your contacts, your third-party contacts. And then if I just click on one of these as an example, you can see all of their details. I can edit them in there as well. And you can do exactly the same process for organizations. The only slight difference with an organization is you also have the ability to attach one or multiple of your contacts into that organization as well. That's contacts and organizations. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about requisitions. So requisitions, if you're not using it, is a really simple process to incorporate within your business. It negates the need for paper chitties. It negates the need for having emails go back and forth. It incorporates a complete audit trail. So let me show you an example of how requisitions works within Osprey. If you imagine I'm a fee earner, maybe I want a payment to be made to a third party. Maybe I want to raise an invoice. Up at the top right, I can simply click on the action button, select requisitions at the bottom, and then Osprey will bring up a list of, oh, sorry, I just clicked on my logout button. Osprey will actually bring up a list of requisition types for me to select from. So those can be client and office, bank receipts, payments. They could be fee earner bills. So a whole bunch in there for you to select from. Just as an example, I'm going to use a fee earner bill. So I'm the fee earner. I want to raise an invoice. I can put in my invoice description. And then I'm going to click on Calculate Fee Earner Costs. This will bring me through to a pop-up screen that shows me all of my unbilled WIP. Now I can select specific date ranges. I can select a specific fee earner if I've got multiple fee earners working on it, or remuneration rates. I then have the ability to either cherry pick which time I want to include, or I can simply click tick all. That now calculates it at 4120. Click on save, and then Osprey adds that into our fee earner costs. Of course, you can override that if it's a fixed fee. We can do exactly the same with our disbursements. So it brings those up, and I then have the option to add those as vatable or non-vatable disbursements. You could even charge VAT on disbursements that you haven't paid VAT on as well. I have the ability to add a note for the authorizer. So maybe there was a copy of an invoice that they've got to pay. I could just make a note that I've attached that into the matter history so they know where to locate that. Click on save, and then that submits it into a holding area that the accounts team go into. They can review it, make sure everything is okay, and then they have the option to approve or reject it. Okay, very simple process, cuts down on all of the paperwork, and make sure that you've got a full electronic trail. Now, you'll see those on your ledger page. Any outstanding requisitions, you'll see at the bottom here. If anything is in there, it means that it has yet to be approved or rejected by the account/management team. When they do approve or reject something, as the requester, you'll get an email providing you with a notification. And there's just an example mentioned InfoTrack earlier. There's an example of a land registry that has come back automatically and been added to the ledger. Okay, some recently added functionality now is expense and overtime claims. So Osprey gives you the ability to add expense claims. Actually, let's just start out under the accounts employee claims. You'll see you've got expense and overtimes. Very simple to use and integrate. So by default, it's showing me all of the claims, and then over on the right hand side, I've got the actually I'm on the wrong page, apologies. You've got the ability to go and add additional expense claims. Now, when you enter a claim, all you simply do is you add the date and the details of that claim. Just bear with me just 1 second. I think we recently moved the add expense claim option. Where has it gone? No, I think we just moved it. Apologies. Anyway, it gives you the ability to add the expense, a description of what it is, the amount. You can also associate it with a client and matter within Osprey. You have the ability to tick a checkbox, and then what that does is once the expense is approved, it will then add it as an unpaid disbursement. So obviously the ability to pass on that cost as well. Once you have submitted an expense, and by the way, you've got an ability to upload a scanned image as well. then it goes into this area where the approvers can see everything that needs to be approved, and then they can go in and they can process the claims. They can see all of the details about that expense claim type, and then they've got the ability to simply approve it. They can reject it. They can change it to ready to pay. If they reject it, then it can go back to the person that requested it, and then they can make any changes. And exactly the same process applies for your overtime as well. So you can go in and record overtime, whether that's internal or related to client and matters. You can see all of that. And then once again, you can have a designated person process that claim, and they can approve it, reject it, and then you can do things like time off in lieu agreed as well. So all of your expenses and overtime is also recordable. Also recently, yeah, you may have seen that we added the bank feed integration into Osprey. So that allows you to attach your bank accounts. Just an example here, you can view all of the transactions. So rather than being constantly logged out of your bank account app, you can see all of your transactions directly within Osprey. So that may just help when you're performing your daily and weekly reconciliations. And you can refresh that and put things like date ranges in there as well. And that kind of leads us on in the future, opens the door for things like payment links, so we can incorporate pay now links within invoices. And then clients click on the link, make a payment, and it reconciles it automatically. So the work that we've done in developing this bank integration lends itself very nicely for that in the future. Okay, so that is our bank feeds. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about something called Osprey Analytics. So obviously, Osprey has a core suite of reports baked into the application that I'm sure many of you are already using. Osprey Analytics, however, doesn't require you to actually run any reports. It brings together all of your reporting requirements into a single, rich, dynamic, and interactive dashboard. This is an example, and what you can see here is we've got all of our revenue this month, this year, all of our WIP figures pulling directly from Osprey, as you'd expect. The KPI cards above it showcase how we can pull information from other systems as well. So all these targets are actually coming from an Excel spreadsheet. Everything nicely kind of color coded. So your revenue by month, we use a traffic light system to show you how you're doing against your targets. You can provide the executive team with those KPIs, but also things like branch, department, and fee earner summaries, so they can see an overview of the entire practice. Again, everything nicely color coded so you can instantly see how people are performing. Department heads can gain access to their own department information. You can restrict access. So imagine I'm the head of residential property, then I can only see my department's information, all the metrics, how we're performing in comparison to previous years. We can break that down by all of the fee earners within that department, right down into work type level. They can have visibility of all of the aged debt as well, and all of their top 10 clients. Fee earners can have a pretty much identical view. Again, they can only see their own information. They can click on months and interact with the charts. And when you do that, all of the data on the pages changes to reflect your filters. All of your, a real key issue that we know that practices experience is every year, 18 months, when they have to complete their indemnity insurance forms. So to facilitate that data entry, we can incorporate dashboards that give you a vast majority of that information. So things like all of your revenue, your WIP, your age debt, your live matters this year, last year. We can do things like split your conveyancing purchase and sale files so you can see how many of those you're representing. We can even do things like calculate the average cost of the top 10 and also do things like minimum and maximum prices for your sales and purchases. Scrolling down, we also can split all of your revenue out by work type. This is a very typical example of what they ask. We split that out so you can see the percentage of revenue by work type across your whole practice. Compliance and matter risk assessment, really important. So things like highlight overdrawn office ledgers, overdrawn client ledgers, clients with a ledger balance where there's been no activity for 12 months. Also, all of your matter risk assessment. If you recall earlier, we looked at how we incorporate AML client and matter risk assessment into our workflows. All of that information we capture can push through into the Osprey analytics. And then this page is just an example of being able to see how many client and matters you're creating each month, what the risk is. And once again, you can just click on any of these. You can filter these out and interact with the information. Okay, so just an example there. Also, just finally, you can incorporate different forms of marketing. So a great example is, again, when we were creating a matter, there was a how did you hear or a source of introduction question that we asked. So we can see all of that, how many are coming in, what those sort of introductions are. We can do that by month, by fee earner. And then the very final tab allows you to see things like heat maps. So we can plot your revenue, your client, your matters onto the UK. Maybe you're interested in opening another office and you want to see where your client base is actually coming from. We could also showcase things like your repeat clients, so their earliest, their latest, how many matters they've had, and then also further insights. So things like by department, by fee earner, what's the average day files are open for? What's the average hourly rate, the average matter value, and the average number of matters per client. So essentially, we've got a limitless accessibility to data through Osprey Analytics. So that's we've mentioned a couple of integrations today. We do have a whole bunch of them. So just bringing up a list there. At this point, I'll just pass you back over to Danielle to see whether there's any questions that have come through. Danielle?
Oh, thanks, Dave, for showing us around the platform. No questions have come in so far. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat. Whilst we do wait for those last minute questions, sorry. A final note before we wrap up is to mention the market leading software we integrate with. Dave mentioned a few throughout the demo, including InfoTrack, but we do have an array of partners that help you save time, reduce data entry, and connect with your firm-wide system. So I'll shout out two integration partners today. The first is our partner Plaid. This bank feed integration provides real-time bank feeds for better cash flow visibility, plus low-cost online payment links. And then the second integration that I'll shout out is one that's currently in progress, and that's Form Evo. Form Evo are a forms provider, and we've had several requests and feedback from clients who utilise the platform. And so in due course, there'll be the latest Osprey integration. So we'll keep you posted on that. We don't currently have any questions. So yeah, we'll wrap up there. And thank you, Dave, for showing us Osprey, and thank you all for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.